Welcome to this final chapter in a great day of giving. Thank you to those of you that have already donated and to those who will contribute during this digital streaming event. We've got people joining us from across the United States and even around the world tonight. And you're going to hear some amazing stories of lives that are being changed through the power of God at MITS in Kenya. And don't forget, if you'd like to give, there are 3 ways to do that. You can go to madeinthestreets.org on your computer or tablet. Text GIVE, G-I-V-E, to the number 615-398-6878. Or you can just pull out your phone and scan the QR code on the bottom right-hand corner of this screen. And remember, if you'd like, you can donate in honor of or in memory of someone who made a difference in your life. And someone who has been making and is making a huge difference in Kenya is our administrative director, Francis Mbuvi. Now, if you know Francis Mbuvi, you love him like crazy. But for those of you that may not know him, here's Francis with a word about the mission at Made in the Streets.
My name is Francis Mbuvi. I have a couple of things that I do here at Made in the Streets. I'm currently the administrator. I also do the preaching for the local church. I'm also a street minister, and I'm also the financial director, if we can use that word. Made in the Streets is a holistic ministry that reaches out to children who are living on the streets. The perception of our Kenyan society for a long time has been street children are nothing, they are thieves, they are dirty, they are useless. And our vision as we go forward, and as I mentioned, as we change one child at a time, is that the society will be able to see these kids in a different light. They will be able to see their potential. They will be able to see them as individuals and as people who are just like everyone else. It's only that they missed a chance, or maybe their circumstances were difficult, but these are kids who can contribute to our economy and to our country in a great way. Many of these kids have been through a lot of trauma, and so for them to trust people, it takes time. We know that there have been times when many of these kids have been explored or exploited by other people, or other organizations, and thus the need for them to be careful. So the initial story that we get to hear from most of the kids changes after they've actually gotten to know us. It's like, I told you this because I didn't know you and all of that, but now that I know you, I actually came to the streets because my mom was beating me, or my mom died and my uncles were not treating me well, or there was no food in the house and I couldn't just stay there and die hungry, so I decided to come. And others, there was a lot of peer pressure from some other young people that I could see. They had money, I didn't have it, and some were, I just wanted to come out and explore and see how it is, and I got used to staying on the street and I don't want to go back home.
Season moja dunia haijaisha bado, yenye mimi najua ni sio kila mtu anajua Mungu ni nani. Sawa?
The major thing that we desire to see is for kids who know God and know that God loves them. Made in the Streets goes out and just wants to see as many kids living on the streets as possible get to know God. And through knowing God, then, as it tells us in the Bible, seek God first and all these other things shall be added unto you. Then they come to our programs, we are able to feed them, offer them an education, and eventually even a skill that, maybe they can use to become better people of our society.
I cannot help smiling when I see Francis's face or hear his voice. God, thank you for the work that Francis Mbuvi is doing. Now, this first story you're going to hear is of Sudi, a boy who currently lives on the streets. He'll be on the streets tonight, but he dreams of getting off the streets and changing his life at MITS. Let's watch this.
Majina naitwa Sudi Adisu. Nimelala base hapa Amana salama. Sijakuwa mgonjwa, pia nashukuru Mungu. Midini nimekuwa nikijifundisha mambo ya Mungu. Ya kwa cha MC Miamaglu. Maisha yangu na inanisaidia ni skule, mtu mwenye anakulia watu haki zao. Pia ninamfundisha usidhulumu mwingine. Dhulumu mwingine ile dhambi. Na pia usibebe vitu za wenyewe. Pia siende mahali unachukua kitu wa mtu bila ruhusa. Mimi naweza penda kuwa engineer kwa sababu naweza jenga makamera, naweza jenga vitu zingine zenye zinatoka mbalimbali. Naweza penda kubadilika kwa ajili niende shuleni tena na maisha kulala nje. Pia naweza kukaa shule, saidia hadi familia yangu nikiwa mbegi. Hivyo nanisaidia pia wale kuko busy wakiniwezesha.
When I watch that, like many of you who have visited Made in the Streets, I'm taken back to my visit to Eastleigh, where I saw the bases and I saw the despair in the streets. I never felt unsafe because I was with trained MITS members, but I saw pain. And I also saw smiles on the faces of homeless street kids who had been invited into the Eastleigh Center for a Bible study, for a snack, in order to play and make connections with caring adults. And I remember interviewing those students at the Eastleigh Center about their hopes and dreams. And to a person, they hoped to make it to the MITS boarding school outside of Nairobi, to get off the streets and see their lives change. Now, this boarding school outside of Kenya is truly a fantastic place where former street kids get nutritious meals and their own bed. Many of them have never experienced either of those things in their entire lives. The students go to school every day, receiving instruction from caring MITS teachers, and receive counseling for the trauma that many of them experienced when they were on the streets. These next two stories come to you from this boarding school, from the classes and the skills training. It truly is a place of transformation. So let's listen to the stories of Stephen and Regina.
One day, I slept at the street. I related with the other street kids and we were friends. That friendship was going on and on. So I started using drugs. The street was not good because it was a little bit like home. You get food once or not get. When you don't get food, what do you expect next? Just to steal. But me, I saw stealing is not a good thing because maybe you could steal and be caught. And maybe you could be murdered by a mob or by a police. And the first time I came to Eastleigh Center, they asked me my name. The next thing they did is that they start asking some questions. The thing which I knew the teachers there were good is because they were talking to me politely. From that time, I saw that Made the Street was not a bad place to be. Here at MITS, we didn't even miss one day without food. And here you have your own bed, you have your own clothes, your school uniforms, from head to toe, everything, you have everything. And in the streets, sometimes you could get your clothes torn, and even you don't have a sweater to cover yourself up. I thought that my future was not only in the streets. My future was bright because I was able to, if I was able to learn what's next, to grow up knowing that learning is the best thing. I had a future of being a scientist, so I was like, this is the time. I must learn very hard so I could be what I want to be, a scientist. From my thinking as an individual, I thought that being a scientist is a special thing because you must know the heavenly body and the earthly bodies which God created. When I grow up and I'm already a scientist of my dreams, I want to first help Made the Street for the support that it has gave to me from the streets until from the place that I am. And from God willing, I'll be able to sponsor some kids from Made in the Street and help some kids from streets to thank Made in the Street for the support that it.
My full names are Regina Ingatu. I was raised with a single mother, and we were the three of us. So for us to get that food and that shelter and also that fee to go to school, my mom decided to take me to live with his sister, who is my aunt. But when I went there, I became like a slave to her. Every time I woke up, I would straight all the beds, I would sweep around, and I would also fetch some firewood for them. And she actually had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. So all the time I would play around with them. And when it came to going to school, I wouldn't go to school. I would just remain behind and finish with the chores. When I will be clear with that, I would go to a club his husband owned. I will sweep around, I will clean, and I'll be like a waiter there. And then when I came back home, I would cook, sometimes fetch those firewood and maybe warm some water for them to come and take a bath. So I stayed with my auntie for 3 years. In the middle of the month, I became so sick that I was to be taken back to where my mom was. At that time, my mother was no longer had the money she would have at the first week, and the landlord was at the door at the time knocking, I need my money. At that point, I had to move to my grandmother. What changed and what happened is that my cousin was to go back to school, and my grandmother wanted to pay for his fees to finish with his education. So I was left alone, and I didn't see the importance of coming back to sleep where my grandmother was. So that's where I moved to the streets at the first time. Where we would go to beg for money, there used to be some prostitute around there. So every time they would get a customer coming for them, so we will follow this men and beg them for 10 shilling. And for them, they thought 10 shilling is a little money, so they will give us. When you wake up in the morning, you would have saved some money for breakfast and also for buying those drugs to cool, for some people, taking those drugs is to need to cool down your stress. And also being in the street, many people wanted to sleep with you for money. Before I went to live with my aunt, my mother tried to pay for my fee to go to school. So I had tried it before. So I knew that I wanted to do it again because I really got interested in learning. There's this team that came with food. Before I knew them, it was through food, let me just say it. Because every Friday, they would come with cakes and maziwa and bread. They will come and give to us and also encourage us about God. So for me, I wasn't interested about hearing about God or anything like that concerning education, but all that I wanted at that time is food. So when they came, they told us to come to a program at the Isley where they will give us plenty of food. So in my mind, I pictured that food. So I decided to go there. So when I came to Made in the Street, life became different since I was sleeping in a bed and I wasn't sharing with anyone. I was sleeping alone, and I would get free water. I would bath twice a day, and also I would eat thrice a day, morning, in the lunchtime, and in the evening. So life became so different for me since I would get all those things for free, and also I would get a pen and a paper. So any feeling that I had in my mind, I would just write it down, and I would get some counseling to the teachers who are actually at the Eastleigh at that moment. So they would counsel us. So it became a journey for me, leaving the drugs and then coming to this new lady. Before I came to the skills center, I admired being a cabin, an attendant. So when I got this chance of coming to catering, I wanted to do it, but because of the qualification, it might take me time. So when I graduate for the next 2 years, I want to hold tight my job and save some money, and at that period of saving my money, I'll start a business that even if I go back to school, I'll still have some income in, and then upgrade to my education, doing fashion and designing or tailoring, and also maybe if possible, my desire is to finish my high school from Form 1 to Form 4 and get that certificate. What I would like to tell Made in the Street is just a big appreciation. My dorm parents, the teachers at the LC, they will teach us all the time that you should be strong, you should do this. So I thank them for that. And also, I thank Mbovi. I thank him for being the dad that I never had, and most of us we never had. He just chooses to love us the way we are, and also to give us all the chances when we are wrong, and also giving us the chance again to study, and also for all the love that he showered unto us. And so back then when I was in the street, I always wished to have a dad, and he showed it all to me, and I thank him for that.
Man, hearing her story, you, like me, are probably fighting to hold back tears right now because of the power of God at work in her life. And I don't know if you caught it, but it's like what started as the dream of 3 healthy meals a day, or the dream of a pen and paper, which perhaps you've never even thought of dreaming of those things because those are assumptions, only they weren't for her. Those dreams ended up becoming the realized dream of a family that she never had, the dad that she wished for. And as members of God's family, we know what that's like. You know, some of us have healthy, wonderful, big families that we're close to. Some of us don't. That doesn't work out for everybody here. But God has done this amazing thing called church where He makes us family. And it's like you can just see coming through the screen the glory and the power of God through Made in the Streets to connect this girl with a human father who loves her unconditionally. And having been at the boarding school in Kamulu, just outside of Nairobi, it doesn't surprise me at all to see her have to pause the video as she fights back tears herself, talking about the way she is loved, because I saw that with my own eyes. These teachers have a heart for this ministry, and they love with a God kind of love that does exactly this. So all praise and glory to God for the fireworks show that is MITS in Kenya. And probably you've already scanned the QR code and you've already given. But I'm going to give you one more chance to do that now, or another chance, I should say, because this story doesn't happen without gifts like the ones we're inviting you to give. They just don't happen. What you just saw is only possible because 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 25 years ago, someone chose to give. And so, before I bring Brad Voss up, the director of Made in the Streets, I want to give you another chance to give right now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brad Voss, the Executive Director of Made in the Streets, and I'm so excited that you decided to join in this great day of giving. And I'm here to talk to you a little bit about this last 18 months and the pandemic. You know, it's been a tough crisis all over the world. The coronavirus and all the restrictions and all of the consequences of it have affected every part of this world. Kenya wasn't spared at all. Kenya faced the virus, but it also faced things like high unemployment and extreme inflation, people losing their jobs overnight, people not being able to shop for groceries, food scarcity, all kinds of challenges throughout the country. Our team faced challenges too, but these aren't the first challenges this team's ever faced. In fact, they're pretty good at facing challenges. They know how to overcome. They're overcomers. They flexed, they moved, they changed. They did things that they needed to do to keep loving these kids, keep serving these kids daily. And they kept educating these kids because they knew that God loves them and God wants what's best for them. I'm excited to tell you that we had a graduation at the end of 2020 and 17 students graduated from the MITS program despite all these obstacles. And now they have jobs in Nairobi. And they're working and getting on with their lives off the streets. And it's amazing success, even in the midst of this pandemic. I want to thank many of you who gave during these last 18 months and made a difference for some of our graduates who had lost their jobs and helped them get back on their feet. I want to thank you for stepping up and helping us get through some hard times. But the future's bright. It's exciting and MITS moves forward, and I can't wait for you to see what's next. You know, one of my favorite stories of a graduate going into the world is the one of Brandon. Brandon was a student at MITS that graduated a few years ago, and he's had some struggles since he left MITS. In fact, he was one of the students who lost his job during the pandemic. But we're so thankful that Brandon's gotten his job back. You're going to get to hear Brandon's story and how he works now at Java House, the premier coffee shop and restaurant in Nairobi. And after Brandon's story, David's going to be back up here to walk us through a few more stories and help us learn more about this journey of transformation that happens at MITS.
When I was in the streets, I didn't have these dreams, but when I was enrolled to MITS, that's when the dreams started coming. You see, like, oh, my life can change, you see, suddenly. I was born in upcountry, so I just started my life there for like 11 years, and then I moved to Nairobi with my pops. Stayed for just like 1 year. He was married with another wife, so we quarreled with things like that, and then I ran to the street for 2 years. After those 2 years, in that second year, I normally was going to the program in Italy. So on November 2013, I was picked up to come to Kamolo, so I went to Kamolo and just studied hard, and yeah. For the first days, it was a little bit hard because I wasn't used to it. But just because I had something that in mind that I wanted to be someone better in life, so it pushed me to learn, to know new things. When I first came in Java, I wanted to be a cook, a chef. But with time, I noticed I had the love for the coffee, so I started learning about coffee. You know, for me, I had a certificate in catering, but they didn't accept that. So you cannot be a chef with that, you know. So I decided to learn being a barista. So I learned for 6 months, and then I went for an exam. I sat and I did the exam. For the first time, I failed. The second time also, I failed, but the third time, I passed. So I went to an interview. The interview was very brief. I can say I was lucky. What I expect from myself is to work hard and save some money hopefully and open my company. When I get the feeling that I am an inspiration to someone, it makes me feel proud of myself and make me want to do more so that I can inspire more people. I am thankful for their support and so grateful for them being here and for them being there. Just like to tell them that when they see us, they should know that they are doing something good. So whatever they are doing, it is not going to waste, because there are some successful people out there, people who are trying to do more. Just, let's say, they are an inspiration to me.
That was so great. There are so many things about Brandon's story that I relate to and want to highlight. I probably don't have time to do it all right now, but I will say, I don't know if you caught that, but he said, my love of the coffee. I'm feeling that right now, and I feel that every day. But even more so than that was when Brandon said, I'm proud of myself. I don't know if you caught that. Brandon's proud of himself and the work that he's doing, and he wants you to know about it. And I love that, because when I was at Kamulu years ago, and I was there in December at the Colston's house, and I saw all these bags on the table. It was a Christmas craft that had been done in one of the classrooms, and one of the bags was done by a little girl who wrote on the bag, I love myself so much. And it got me. Because these are students who were hopeless, were living on the streets, and now love themselves. Brandon is doing something he's proud of, and he's telling you about it because you made it possible. And I don't know if you caught it at the very end, but where he ended that video, his story was that you're an inspiration to him. You've made this possible in his life, and he wants you to know that your gifts aren't going to waste. He wants you to know that graduates like him are going off and doing great things. And that's what MITS is all about. Changing lives and changing the world. Now, this next story you're going to hear is from Eliza. Now, she tells the story about a young man named Raymond that I recently heard about, who is beginning high school in Kenya. And MITS changed Raymond's life, but not in the traditional sense. See, Raymond was never a street kid. His parents were. Eliza was, came through the program, married another street kid who came through the program at MITS, and now Eliza is changing lives as a team member at MITS. Let's listen to Eliza's story.
Since Made in the Street started a girls program at Kamuru, we were second group. So when we just came here, we joined Made in the Street and we started learning primary things. Like we continue doing the primary things, and also we have courses that we was doing. I graduated 2005. I graduated doing like hairdressing and dressmaking, and also a computer. So we have a lot of courses we are doing that moment. I got married 2007 when I left Made in the Street. And then 2007, we have our firstborn. The ministry asked us to come back because we want to give the feedback and to be the role model of the students. So we just came back. Though I know my husband even comes from the street, because even me, I want a street girl. So I know we'll make a good couple, and then we'll continue our life and we'll support our kid. So since then, we have now blessed with 3 kids. We feel good and feel proud of ourselves because we sit down and we tell our kid this is a life that we went through. So we don't feel ashamed to tell them where we just come from. So because we want them to have a better life, not the life that we went through. So if, like my son, one day I showed the pictures for his father and he started crying. So my father, you just come from this. And I told, yeah, we come from, it was a poverty, but right now we want you to have a good education. We don't want to pass through the same thing that we passed through. So we feel good and we feel motivation when we are telling them our story, because it will change them. The way they think, it will change them. One thing I came to realize, hope it's always about to believe in God. So I believe in God. So mostly when I'm talking with my kid, I put God first. I tell them, everything that you are planning to do, put God first, because He's for everything that we want in our life. And because of Him, here I am as your mom. I know my aim is to make this student to realize that even they can become something from where they come from. Because there, people see that you don't have any life. But after you just came here, you feel that there those people love you. And that's what it motivates me most to come here. Because if I tell them my story, I came from the street, and the way I am, and now I have children, I have a husband. So they'll get something from me, and they'll make them even to change. If Eliza can come from the street, and now she has a family, and she's working here, because I want to give the feedback, because they raise me. What am I going to do to them? I cannot repay them, but to repay them is to come here to help even this kid, so that even then they can have a life like me.
And there it is. That's it. The full gamut of life change that is possible through the ministry at Made in the Streets. It starts with a homeless kid who can't even really dream about a future, because they're just lost in every way that a child can be lost, experiencing every kind of pain that you can imagine. And Eliza's story captured that for us. And then the love experienced at Eastley, and the education and life skills change, and the healing that occurs at the boarding school. Then the work that begins to create a new life, and then the generational change that occurs when family becomes another family. I know that you've been touched tonight. Some of this has not been easy to listen to, and we know that. But if you've been paying attention, there's nothing more exciting. And I've always said, I'm a youth minister, and I love my job, and I love what I do, and I get to see teenagers learn about the power of God at work in the world and in the church and in His Word. And I love going to camp, and I love teaching Bible class, and I love filming lip-dub videos. But I have never seen a more brilliant display of the gospel on earth than what God is doing at Made in the Streets. And if you've been there, if you've been associated with this ministry over the years, you already know that. But some of you are hearing about this ministry for the first time, and tonight maybe you're saying, wow, I didn't know. I can't believe it. Well, believe it. God is doing it, and He's doing it in Kenya, and He's doing it through people just like you. So in a moment, you're going to see the other ways to give, the 3 different ways to give, and we're going to throw the graphic up here, and you'll see that, and you'll have one final opportunity to cap off what has been an amazing day. And you have until midnight to give tonight, this day of giving. What a joy. And God is going to do a lot of things through this. And so I've been, honored to be a part of it, and I hope that you have enjoyed this as well. We couldn't finish this off without saying a big thank you to Charles and Darlene Colston. Colston's, wherever you are out there, I love you. We love you. Big digital hug for you. And for the sacrifice that you made 27 years ago to follow the call of God all the way around the world to start something that even you didn't know how it was going to go or what was going to happen. And now just look at what God is doing through Made in the Streets. It's just incredible. So, thank you. We love you. Of course, Colston's would want us to say, again, all praise and glory to God. So as we scroll pictures and we say goodnight here, I just want you to never forget that this is about God. It's who He is. He's the one who's making those teachers and waiters and coffee house workers and hotel caterers and educators and filling the world with them. And so thank you for being a part of this day. Don't forget to give, and may God receive the glory.